Hey guys, Landon with Three Sides of the Cube. I've got Justin here with me today.
How's it going?
We're super excited. We're talking about Necrons today. We're just going to chat a little bit, talk about the experiences we've had in 10th edition with Necrons. Justin has joined Three Sides of the Cube. He's been playing with us, and he kind of started on Tau there for a little bit, but he's really latched on to the Necron army, really likes it. So he's done a few tournaments with it and played with it a bunch. So yeah.
I will admit I did want to stick with Tau, but they started off with such high point costs that I quickly switched over to Necrons, and then they dropped all the points on Tau. So,
Yeah.
But what's done is done. I'm with Necrons and I'm loving it. So we can talk about a little bit of the some of the synergies that I really like in Necrons. Maybe go over some exterior units or peripheral units as well. So
Yeah, just in general, Necron Dynasty tier, that's the only detachment we currently have with Necrons. It's not like the most amazing ability, but having leaders attached, especially good leaders, giving +1 to the ballistic skill or melee skill of all your guys.
oh yeah, it's totally
Pretty
true.
good.
If you don't have leaders in your Necron army, you haven't played very long.
You're doing it wrong. Just kidding.
Yeah, no. One of the best ones is that +1 to hit. I love that. When it's got a leader attached to it, that counts for so many different units. The warriors, immortals, lich guard, even the locusts, either the heavy or the regular locusts, can get that leader attached to it and get a +1 to hit, bringing oftentimes a 3-up down to a 2-up, which is huge. So.
Yeah. I'm just amazed that the cool thing is that most of the units in general can have some type of leader attached to it, giving him some kind of a buff, benefit, or just having that awakened dynasty ability of +1 to hit. So compared to some other factions like Tyranids and some others, there are leaders, yes, but maybe not as many that can attach to units and as a wide variety of units. And I think that's really cool for us.
Yeah, so the two battle line units are probably the ones that the leaders attach to the most, the Necron warriors and the immortals. They're pretty good. They boast oftentimes a massive 2 objective control per model. And when you have a warrior unit with 20 models max in a unit, that's a 40 objective control unit that if you can slap that on top of an objective, yeah, you're gonna have to kill it down to 4 units just to actually have a chance of taking back that objective. So that's huge.
And they're Necrons. They're hard to kill. That is like the thing, right? They're coming back to life. They've got great OC. Once they're on an objective, it's like, man, am I ever gonna steal this back? So probably the strongest thing about the army is their survivability. What are some of your favorite units, Justin?
Okay, so I've already said that I love the warriors. And honestly, the reason I love the warriors is because of that OC and in an unconventional way. I feel like if you can put a unit of Necrons on one objective, they're probably not going to lose that objective. But one of my favorite things about the warriors is it's such a large unit, you can put it on 2 objectives.
It's true.
Yeah, so you can just kind of stretch them out and take 2. And because you get to decide which Necron warriors you're taking off first, you kind of get to keep that objective control on the objectives while they're taking out models.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, that's a huge strength. No one singular model can't hold 2 objectives, but different models of a large unit, you can sprawl those guys out, hold 2, maybe even 3 objectives sometimes.
I did have a game where I held 3 objectives with those warriors. That was amazing.
Pretty amazing.
It becomes difficult when you hold more than 2, though, because once a few die, which is inevitable with the warriors, you start losing those objective markers quick. So you got to pick your battles, I guess. The immortals, however, aren't far behind.
Oh, I love immortals. They're like my favorite.
They're really good. They have a great variety of melee and ranged. Well, melee, they just get the 1, not as good as melee, but there are 2 options for ranged, either sustained 2, which allows them to have so many shots, or lethal hits weapons.
Yeah.
at 24 and an 18-inch range for the sustain 2 and a 24-inch range for the lethal hits. Gives you some options if you're really trying to tailor your game. Yeah.
Justin is just kind of getting into this in 10th edition, but I remember playing a lot of Necrons in 9th edition, and the style that I like to play them was same thing. Lots of infantry, lots of Necron warriors. But man, back in 9th edition, these guys, when they got into combat, didn't really pack a punch. And now, actually, like, do fairly decent if they get any melee. Especially the Immortals, they have 2 attacks apiece now.
They have 2 attacks in melee.
It's like, whoa. Usually it's like 1 attack per model, they smack you with their gun. If you do a damage, that's great. But now they can actually fight on objectives and like do pretty decent.
No, but even better than that, with some of the strategic protocols, if you want the stratagems, you can actually boost their strength. Their melee was a 4. You use a stratagem on them. It's a strength 5, which is right there among the.
That's the sweet spot.
Yeah, that's the sweet spot. Is strength 5, toughness 5, and so you raise that strength to strength 5, and then you add an AP to that attack, and all of a sudden you're doing some really good stuff with those Immortals in range and melee. So that's major. Yeah, and then you can't forget about the Lich Guard. You really can't, because as tough as the Warriors are and the Immortals, the Lich Guard are tougher, are more tough.
Tough stuff.
They're tough stuff. No, they have just an inset invuln. They just get their 4, even without the help of a leader, they get that 4-up invuln. They have the regular 3-up save with a 4-up invuln, -1 to wounding them, and 2 wounds a pop. So Lich Guard are hard to kill. Same as the Immortals, a 10-man unit, but double the wounds, double the tough stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the stratagems actually for Necrons in 10th edition, we only have the 1 detachment right now. So once, hopefully pretty soon, it's been rumored that Necrons are coming out with their codex the winter of 2023. So it's got to be here in November or December. So hopefully getting it soon. But that's going to give us probably 4, possibly 5 more detachments with a whole new slew of stratagems. But honestly, the 1 detachment that we have to work with now, I like 80 to 90% of the stratagems. I think they're good. I think some of them are a little situational, but they're good in those situations.
As long as you have a good handle on them, then you can really use them to your benefit as soon as the opportunity comes up. And the opportunity does present itself. I know that you've mentioned Protocol of the Vengeful Spirit, I believe is what it is.
Yes.
You're so scared of that? Just because a lot of the times Necrons are very good at shooting, and they're really hard to kill in one shot, or even wound, really, just because of those crypto thralls attached to those units. So
I've always been a very aggressive player as a Warhammer player. That's probably why I gravitate to Tyranids and some of these factions that are just very like aggro heavy, charge in there, do some damage. And even with Necrons, you can be a little bit aggressive with them and charge up on those objectives and say, hey, these are mine. There's no way you're taking away from them. And that Vengeful Protocol, or that stratagem, just gives you an extra chance to shoot. And I think it's super strong. And the other thing that I really love is we're usually really, really slow. That's probably the biggest weakness of the Necron faction, is that normally they're very, very slow. However, the Chronomancer, which is one of our favorite characters, oh my gosh,
honestly, they're
all
so good.
He laughed at me because I put 3 of them in a list. They're just so amazing. You can shoot with somebody, and then you get to make another movement. So
it's big, but the only reason I laugh is because there are so many. There are so many good leaders.
There's a lot of choices to pick from.
Seriously, the Technomancer, giving everyone a 5-up feel no pain, and the entire unit 5-up feel no pain. I feel like that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not only that, but that Technomancer is also able to heal models.
Yep.
So,
I would say when I've played this list, I tend to be more aggressive, looking at shooting extra times and moving extra. But Justin, I think he's kind of fine-tuned the Staying Alive. With
Staying alive.
Feel No Pains and Reanimation. So tell us a little bit about your list currently and what you're looking at. We are trying to tailor our lists, to kind of fine tune them. We are all preparing for the Las Vegas Open, which is a frontline gaming tournament that we really enjoy. One of the biggest ones here in the U.S. So we are kind of trying to tune our lists, find out what is the best, so that we can take it to that at the end of January. And tell us currently where your Necron lists are at. What do you like? What do you don't like? What works for you?
Oh man,
what doesn't work?
Well, I'm going to talk a little bit vaguely just because it has been in flux. Like I said, a lot of fine tuning. Those warriors, throw them in there. Crypto thralls, throw them in there. Put them attached to a Cryptech model. Honestly, Chronomancer is a good Cryptech model to throw in there. I do like that one, especially if you add an enhancement to that Chronomancer to Veil. The Veil enhancement allows it to teleport. As long as you pick it up at the end of your opponent's movement phase, you put it down on your reinforcements, and then after the Chronomancer shoots, you can then move that unit 5 inches, which means that instead of being 9 inches away from your enemy, you can be 4 inches away from your enemy. If they're just barely touching an objective, you can just sneak right on there. So that's one of my favorites. Immortals, you got to have Immortals. In fact, you got to have multiple units of Immortals, in my opinion, just because there are so many great devastating wounds royals that I think that you can add to a good unit combination. One of my favorites is honestly Enrakir the Traveler. Oh, man, that Tachyon arrow is just so good. It's so good. It's got, 14 strength?
Yeah, big strength. It's a one-shot weapon, so you can only use it once per game. And we were kind of laughing about it at first because usually it's like a hit or miss, right? Sometimes it does stuff, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But stick that guy in with a group of Immortals.
All of a sudden, instead of wounding on 3s, you're wounding on 3s, and if you miss,
you get rerolls.
Wounding on 3s.
So it's so great.
Yeah.
Makes it a lot more consistent. You can actually rely on it a little bit more. I think Immortals are the all-star of many lists just for that reason. They reroll wounds, ones, just kind of base on their data sheet. But if you're touching an objective, they get full wound rerolls. Just so strong.
So good.
They've taken this away from other units in different armies. Gene Stealers, for example, they used to have that exact same type of ability, and now they've actually, in the FAQ, they've changed it, and now they only reroll ones. But Immortals are still there. They're still rerolling everything, which just makes them so consistent.
Oh, man. But Tachyon Arrow is great. What is even better is Orican the Diviner. Blows my mind to think about his once per game ability, which admittedly is, not as often as I would like it to be. But he's got an ability to increase to triple his attacks and triple his strength. Was 4, goes to 12. And not only that, but his wounds, if they hit, they're devastating. And so every wound is devastating. When you pair him up with Immortals, that's massive. That's rerolling wounds and everything's devastating. You get a lot of D3 damage. So that's really awesome.
Me and Justin, I think we both kind of agree that Orican the Diviner and Enrakir the Traveler, these are two characters that aren't currently like super heavily played in the meta, but I think they're sleeper units. I think if you really dust off and look at the data sheet on these guys, sticking them with these Immortals, sticking them with Warriors, with Crypto Thralls, I think they become extremely valuable.
And I'll tell you one thing. It kind of falls in line with the whole Necron spirit of patience, if you know what I mean. If you can be patient with those once per game abilities and really just wait until the time is right, you'll get them. Earlier in the game, the better. But honestly, don't waste it, because if you can get that, if you can really use those abilities, the Tachyon Arrow and the time is right ability for Orican, man, you can cripple them early.
The other great thing is that a lot of these characters that we really like for the lists are the infantry-based characters. So these guys that are walking, not the catacomb command barge or any of those that are in vehicles, but the infantry ones. And because you can pay 1 CP for a strat, the Undying Protocol, and you bring these, if they die, if they get precision or you get in a situation where they do die, you can just bring them back at half health for 1 CP.
Seriously.
So good.
Yeah, and honestly, especially when they have feel no pains, it was hard to kill them already. You roll double 3s if you have a reanimator boosting your reanimation protocol, and all of a sudden you got a maximum of six models coming back.
Yeah.
So that's crazy.
Let's talk about reanimation protocols because that's probably the strongest thing in the army.
Seriously.
So lay out reanimation protocols for us and give us an example of your 20-man warrior unit and what you're targeting with to keep it alive. Because I'll tell you what, I've played this list that Justin has several times with Gene Stealers, Tyranids, these lists that do a ton of damage. And these guys are just almost impossible to kill. So lay it out for us what you like to do with these warriors.
All right, so with these warriors, like I said, put a Cryptothrall on them just because originally it's going to be hard to kill those Cryptothralls. 3-up save, 4-up feel no pain. But if they die, if those Cryptothralls die, the 2 units that I would probably go for when it comes to reanimation protocol is the Reanimator and the Ghost Arc. Because the Ghost Arc allows you to, once per phase, if that unit has lost a wound, after all attacks are resolved, you can activate your reanimation protocol. At its base form, the reanimation protocol is D3 wounds brought back to that unit. So in the instance of a 20 model warrior unit that's lost, let's go ahead and say 3 models, its base form, or I guess for reanimation protocol, is actually bumped up from the normal D3. You'd be rolling a D3 and bringing back that many models. However, the warriors have a phenomenal ability to bring back, instead of D3, D6. And if they're on top of an objective marker you control, it actually gets its average boosted up a little bit and reanimates D3 plus 3. So still a max of 6 damage, but I mean a minimum of 4, and that's huge. The Reanimator, however, if you're within range, which is 12 inches, whenever you activate the reanimation protocol, which activates with the Ghost Arc once per phase if they lose a wound, and always at the beginning at your command phase, you're going to be reanimating an extra D3. And so a conventional thing that happens is half my unit gets killed, Cryptothralls and Immortal and Warriors alike. And then at the beginning of my command phase, I roll 2 D3s, I roll a 3 and a 2, add 3 to that, and I'm bringing back 8 of my warriors. And so they're practically back to full strength. So
it's quite shocking. If you've never played Necrons before and you go up and you face this, it can feel very overwhelming when you're like, wow, I just shot everything I had into this unit, you brought it back, and then I charge into it, put a whole bunch of damage into it, and then you once again can activate that Ghost Arc ability per phase, not just once per turn, and just bring them back again.
And the beauty of it is because it's an ability of the Ghost Arc, you can also use the protocol of the Undying or reanimation protocol with a CP cost in the same phase. And so I can do both of those and bring back twice as many, and that's huge.
Yeah. Survivability is crazy. The other thing that really helps with that is those 2 Cryptothralls. Every single army you're going to play against Necrons, they're going to have the Cryptothralls. They're going to be attached to something, making them super durable, giving out those feel no pains. But when those Cryptothralls die, they don't completely die off the unit.
Yeah.
They're still a part of that unit. So every time you reanimate, that is probably your priorities. You should be bringing back those Cryptothralls, and that way, all of a sudden, they've got to make all the saves against those Cryptothralls again.
I've always seen them as kind of like an exterior armor
Yeah.
That once you get through the cryptothralls, you can actually start doing damage, but it's so hard to get through the cryptothralls. And then once I have a second to breathe, all I need is a second, those cryptothralls are the first ones to come back. Because they're part of the bodyguard unit. And you haven't killed the entire bodyguard unit until all the warriors are dead as well.
Yeah, they're quite unique and quite amazing. You can bring them, attach them to a unit, as well as 2 other leaders. Like,
oh, the 2 other leaders thing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, because not only do you get a leader attached to your army, but the cryptek units are more of an entourage to the leader. And so you get a royal and a cryptek attached to a warriors unit, a lich guard unit, a immortals. Yeah. And so everyone's kind of getting buffs from that, because not only do you have the leaders buffing the bodyguard unit, but you have the leaders buffing each other, and that's major. That is major. That is synergy at its finest.
And that's another note. Those cryptothals, they give a feel no pain. They have a feel no pain, but they also give it to any cryptek that's attached to it.
Which is good for precision.
Yeah, for sure. Just amazing. So that's kind of the combination that we've been playing with a lot. Is these battle line units that are just amazing, and we've literally been plugging in different leaders and stuff to try to see which is the best. I think those are some of our favorite combinations that we've come across.
And before we move off of this, though, I do want to say one of my favorite things about the reanimation protocol is when you put the model back on the playing field.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. You can put it, as long as it's in unit coherency, at the end of the placement. And so you're putting these units back, and you can put them you can take them from the back of your deployment zone, and then they come back on the objective marker in the middle of no man's land. Because even though they died from back here, they're coming back 10, 12 inches forward. And that is huge. And so it's a way to advance the army, I guess.
It helps with the movement for sure, because normally these models are typically around a 5-inch, 6-inch movement, so pretty slow. But yeah, just even slowly creeping up a couple inches at a time. If you're shooting at me, you remove those models at the back, bring them into the front. You can slowly creep up or creep away. Another kind of a pro tip is if you've got something that's about ready to charge you and you don't want them to charge you, you could do the exact opposite. Make more space in between you. So he shoots at me in his shooting phase. You get to choose which models die when they do die. So you take those ones off the front, and if they come back, you don't have to put them right back in the front. Put them in the back. Make that charge distance just a little bit longer. Make it a little more challenging for your opponent. Movement is one of the most strongest things in Warhammer. If you use it to your advantage, it can really help you win games.
There's a huge difference between a 7-inch charge and an 8-inch charge.
Definitely.
Blows my mind. Yeah. So yeah, moving away from kind of those large units, we also have some of the smaller ones, but honestly, we got to talk about the Catans. I feel like we have to.
Catans.
I love them. Good. This guy right here, one of my favorites, but the best Catan. We don't have it here. I need to talk about the Transcendent Catan.
Yeah.
It is it's currently not a named model.
Correct.
Blows my mind. And so not only is it has the regular Catan invuln, 4-up invuln, halves damage against it, the damage characteristic. And so if you're attacking me with 2 damage weapons, they're 1 damage weapons. I'm only taking half of that. You can also stick Feel No Pains, the Feel No Pain enhancement on the Transcendent Catan.
Yeah. Normally named characters can't receive any enhancements, but like Justin said, we have the Catan Shard of the Void Dragon right here.
Also a good one.
Beautifully painted model. Super fun, really good against vehicles. There is the Nightbringer and the Deceiver as well, which are 2 named Catan models. But yeah, this Transcendent Catan, you could even bring 3 of them if you wanted, because they're not a named character. You can have multiples, and because they're not a named character, you can put that Simply Eternal Weave on there, which is a 4-up Feel No Pain. So, man.
If they were unkillable before the Sempiternal Weave, you stick that Sempiternal Weave on them, you're never taking it off the board. Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think in general, pretty good enhancements.
I will admit though, that Void Dragon, um, I'm glad that we have that one because honestly, it's a runner-up. That thing has so many good attacks. Oh, 2-up. What is it? A 2-up anti-vehicle as well.
2-up. Yeah, he's definitely anti-vehicle killer for sure. If that's something that you face a lot or expecting to face, just a great addition to the army as well.
Yeah, he's a beefy boy.
Yeah.
And he looks awesome. And let's admit it. If your army doesn't look amazing, you got a little bit of work to do. Some good work. It's an important work to make your army look this awesome. So yeah, the Catans are so good. How about Silent King? What are your thoughts? You've played with it more than I have.
So I haven't played a lot with it in 10th edition. We are currently working on a couple lists with the Silent King in there. I think he has some definite advantages to him. He can, in the command phase, pick different abilities to help different units out. One of the strongest ones, I think, is to be able to not be battle shocked. If it's clutch in the moment where you really need to score those points, have those primaries, you can just kind of auto pass and not even worry about it. The CP strat to auto pass and not be battle shocked, you can only use once per game. So it kind of says something that having the Silent King in there, where this is something you can do every single phase. I mean, every single turn.
Yeah, not phase.
Not phase, but every single turn, your turn, you could not battle shock something. I think that can potentially be strong
Against Tyranids. It still has its weaknesses, just because it is at the end of your command phase, and so you're going to be doing it after the unit has been battle shocked, and it's been battle shocked during the battle shock step. After rolling a leadership test, I feel like you playing Tyranids, you have a bias against just general battle shock because you can cause it so often. A frustrating amount of times. And so some of his abilities happen not in the command phase, but slightly after the command phase. And so the Silent King, one of the weaknesses with that ability is that he can't stop that from happening. But for many other instances, he can help because he has, I can't remember the name, but the 3 abilities that he can choose from. One of them being, Tyranids, they can add 2 or add 1 or 2 to your leadership roll.
Yes.
Right?
And
but
sometimes even 3, yeah.
With the Silent King, one of his 3 abilities that he can choose from is no modifications. So Necrons, they have a pretty good leadership roll, 6-up, which just across the board is awesome because of all the leadership, all the leaders of the army generally having a 6-up leadership test. And the Silent King, as long as you stay close to the Silent King, it'll always be a 6-up, no modifiers. But that spreads across the board with attacks and defense as well. Can't modify my save, can't modify my wound roll, can't modify my hit. If you stay close to the Silent King, no modifications of any sort there to wounds of the rolls and abilities that I've got going for me. So I think that's a huge benefit for the Silent King.
Yeah. My only beef is I think he's a little expensive at the moment. I wish he was just a few more points lower.
He could be.
Kind of the similar price as a Catan. It's kind of funny that the Catan models could arguably be said that they're way better, but they're cheaper.
Well, so, you don't get the same synergies.
Correct.
Because, for instance, another one of his 3 choices of abilities is rerolling 1s on hits and wounds.
Yeah.
And when a lot of your attacks are 2-up, and honestly, they're either 3-up, which get turned into 2-up because of
you got a leader attached.
You got a leader attached. Now you're rerolling 1s as well. Hitting on 2-up and rerolling 1s. That's every time almost.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of really good synergies with that ability from the Silent King as well. So he's expensive, but unlike the Catans, he can boost those around him.
Yep.
I really like that.
I think he definitely has his place. That's kind of the next area that we're going to start list building a little bit more, seeing if we can fit it in there and kind of fine tune the Silent King in there. That's one of my goals. But yeah, I like it.
I like him too. I'll see how it works on some future battles.
Yeah.
When it comes to range, You don't have very many options. Well, you got some good range. Necrons are pretty, but when it comes to long range, we've got the Doomstalkers right here in front of us. Ooh, golden and black. Very dreadful. These guys are pretty good. Long range shooters with large damage characteristics and a high armor penetration. One of the issues that you've mentioned is that they're off and on, decently unreliable, especially with that D6 attacks characteristic. So
Yeah, anytime that there's models that are D6, especially, you might just roll ones all the time, and they're not going to have that many shots.
I know that's happened to me.
D3s even sometimes can be that way. But yeah, consistency is definitely a thing.
Rolling a 1 on a D6, there's nothing more devastating.
Yeah. And CP is way more precious than it used to be in 9th edition. So it's...
Can't just spend them willy-nilly to reroll those.
Spend it for your how many shots you're going to get.
I wish.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, they're still pretty good. They're still pretty good, and as long as you can get some of those synergies, especially with the Silent King boosting their attacks as well, all of a sudden, I almost forgot. Not only the Silent King re-rolling ones, but you can also use an enhancement to boost them in that you can attach an enhancement to a leader. Can't remember the name.
It's coronal something.
But you can actually have them be led by a leader. And so you stick that enhancement on them, and as long as that leader is within 6 inches of this Doomstalker, they will get a +1 to their hit. So they have a 4 up to hit, turns to a 3 up, and with the Silent King giving them a rerolling ones, they actually are a little bit more reliable, a little bit more feasible of an option, and that's awesome. Because we need those ranged big damage attacks in this army. There's too many damage 1 attack stats. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's kind of how we've been our experience with Necrons so far in 10th edition. We're really enjoying the infantry focused lists. But go ahead and comment down below if there's other models that you guys like to see or having good success with out there. But we're really excited to keep list building with this, and we're going to keep doing some battle reports for you guys that you guys can see our progress and see those Necrons in action. But yeah, we're going to be preparing as we get ready for LVO, and we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah, keep those synergies coming, and send us any comments about your thoughts on our discussion. Anything we missed, anything that you want us to talk about next, or go a little bit more into detail about, and share, like, follow, the whole thing.
Awesome, guys. Thanks, and good luck gaming out there.